Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of Rockefeller Initiative. This is Laurance Rockefeller meeting with the president. Laurance Rockefeller, of course, was a billionaire. He was the guy that was the humanitarian, had the philosophy degree from Princeton. His brother, David, ran the money thing. Nelson ran for president, and he was the humanitarian guy, the ecology and all this kind of stuff. And he was interested in UFOs. Next slide. Here's Laurance Rockefeller. I guess I should maybe tell you, because Princeton talked about this today, that he actually was involved with, no, I'll leave that for later. Laurance Rockefeller, here's Laurance Rockefeller with Mr. Cheney, Dick Cheney, and so we'll go to the next slide. Again, I want to remind you what the White House statement is. There's no cover-up. There's no evidence of ETs. Now I'm going to play, you've probably all heard it, my question to Dick Cheney, April of 2001, Diana Reams show here in Washington, D.C., I asked him, and this is the question you want to ask if you get a high-ranking guy. You don't want to ask, what do you think about UFOs? You don't want to ask, have you had a UFO sighting? You could care less. You ask him, have you been briefed? Here's me asking Dick Cheney, you evaluate yourself, is there a cover-up? Here's the next slide, here's Dick Cheney answering the question. Oh, it's not going to link. Okay, go back, I memorized it. Go back one slide. Okay, I asked him, Mr. Cheney, in all your jobs in government, have you ever been briefed on the subject of UFOs? If so, when was it, and what were you told? And Cheney said, if I had been briefed on that subject, it would probably be classified, and I wouldn't be talking about it. There is a cover-up. Next slide. Okay. This is going back to the Rockefeller Initiative. To give you just a little funny story, Steve Bassett. I've known Steve for a number of years. He was running a thing back many years ago. We were in Laughlin, Nevada. Steve's having a dinner, and at the dinner was John Mack and Bud Hopkins. And Bud Hopkins is sitting right across from me, and we're talking about, because they knew I was into the presidents, they're talking about Rockefeller and the Rockefeller Initiative. And Hopkins and Mack actually stayed at Laurance Rockefeller's house one weekend, and they said it was kind of weird, you know, because a billionaire philanthropist guy, and he's asking you what you want for breakfast, you know, he's like a butler. And that was when Rockefeller, this is before Clinton came into office, he said, when the president gets in, it doesn't matter whether it's Bush or whether it's Perot or whether it's Clinton, I'm going to the president, I'm going to get UFOs declassified. I'm going to get it all pulled out. And I still remember Hopkins said, I said to him, yeah, Laurance, I don't think that's how it works. He said, no, that's how it works. I'm going to the president, I'm going to get this thing declassified. So this is a little funny story that this was known before that he was going to go to the president. So go to the next slide. These are the documents. I'm going to mention this tomorrow. These are the Rockefeller Initiative documents. I got them. I filed an FOIA with the science advisor. I had heard that Bruce Maccabee and other people had gotten documents, so I filed for the same ones. They got 500, I got 1,000 pages. So here's the 1,000 pages of documents. They say there's no cover-up. They say nothing being covered up. Go to the next slide. That's where the documents are. They're gone. I went to the Clinton Library. I said, you know, I filed an FOIA for all the UFO stuff. They gave me 900 pages. These documents are in there. I said, well, where's the Rockefeller documents? It's UFO stuff, and no, we don't have no record of them. I said, there's 1,000 pages. I sent them the inventory. I said, here's the inventory. Here's the documents, this guy to this guy, and no, we don't have any documents. Go to the National Archives. I went to the National Archives. I said, no, we don't have documents. No documents. I said, what do you mean? I sent them the thing, and I put an appeal in. I said, I'm appealing. Their documents are here. I've got the documents. What do you mean there's no documents? They said, nope, appeal is denied. So what I've decided to do, go next slide, the Clinton Library says they don't have it. They say there's no cover-up. So I've got these documents. I put them on my website. Steve Bassett has them on his website. And I figured, well, you know, they're sort of building up dust at home. I don't know what to do with them. I was thinking maybe I'll give them to the Roswell Museum. I'm trying to figure out who am I gave these documents to. I figure that's what I'm going to do when I get back. I'm going to send them to the Clinton Library. I'm going to say, here's your documents back. I mean, put them in there. Now, what are they going to do? They're just saying these documents don't exist, and they're suddenly going to get there. So you may see on the nightly news, the FBI bomb squad found a bomb outside the Clinton Library, and you're going to see them blow up my little package. You know, they're going to find something to do because I'm sending the documents back. They say their documents don't exist, so here they are. What are they going to do? I don't know what they're going to do with them. Go to the next slide. This is the guy that handled Rockefeller. What happened is Rockefeller went there. He wanted to go to the president, but they wouldn't let him get to the president, so he gets handled by the science advisor to the president. And later on, he does get to the president. Next slide. When Gibbons finds out that Rockefeller's coming, Rockefeller's a powerful guy, so he's figuring, what am I going to do? So he asked for a CIA briefing. He said, I need a briefing on UFOs. And this is the guy that's assigned the briefing at the CIA. His name is Dr. Ronald Pandolfi. And I say, if you really want to know what's going on with UFOs, get his phone number. This is the guy that knows all the answers. But what happens here, in this 1993, Pandolfi works for the CIA. The CIA is not into UFOs. They're publicly not into, so what are you going to do? Rockefeller, this is going to become public that Rockefeller is doing this deal. You can't do a briefing. So what he does, go next slide, he gives the briefing to Bruce Maccabee. Now, Bruce Maccabee's done a couple of lunchtime things at the CIA, knows Ronald Pandolfi, so he gets the task 24 hours before. He said, you got to write a briefing for the President's Science Advisor. He goes, what do you mean? I got 24 hours. Yeah, you got to write. So Bruce Maccabee spends the whole night. He writes this briefing to the President's Science Advisor, and what the CIA does is they avoid the issue, because they can't write the briefing, so they give it to Maccabee, but he's just a private citizen. So this is public, what the briefing was, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just like you and I sending something to the White House. Who cares? It's not official. And that's how they got around the briefing. The president asked for a briefing, and they walk around it and get a private citizen to write the briefing. Go ahead. Next slide. This is some of the people that are involved in the Rockefeller Initiative, and Steve made a very good, I won't sort of duplicate this, Steve made a very good presentation the other day. These are the people that come up in the Clinton administration as being very involved in this, trying to get the UFO thing out. John Podesta, who's a very powerful guy when Obama came in, helping Obama set up his White House. John Podesta was very involved. Next slide. This is a key one, Webster Hubbell, and this is where the story comes in. Webster Hubbell said in his book in 1997, he said that he was told by Clinton, if I put you over there in justice, I want you to get the answer to two questions. Number one, who killed JFK? And number two, are there UFOs? So I filed FOIAs on both. The UFO got about 1,000 pages. The Kennedy assassination has about 6,000 pages at the Clinton library. I don't know if anybody, I haven't looked at them. I don't know if anybody's even looked at the assassination. But Clinton did not believe either story. He did not believe the official story about killing Kennedy, and he didn't believe the official UFO story. So he sent Hubbell out there. Now, if you listen to the testimony today, you'll see, and I knew this story before, I didn't release it, but Jim Peniston is doing a story with Larry King. He's in a car with James Fox, and Halt is in the car, and Symington, who's a friend of Clinton. And Symington saved Clinton when he was young from drowning. He's a good friend. He's involved, of course, in the Phoenix Lights. Go to the next one I think we've got here. No, he's involved with the Phoenix Lights, and when they're coming back from the Larry King show, Bill Clinton phones up, and they put him on the speakerphone in the limousine, and he's talking to Symington, and Bill's saying, oh, I watched the show, it's really good, I was watching the whole thing. He said, you know, that's true, you know, he says, I tried to get Hubbell to get the answer, and I couldn't get nothing. So Peniston has told the story. I've heard the story before, but Peniston actually confirms the story today that he was there when Bill Clinton was on the speakerphone, and Bill said he couldn't get anything. This is another guy that was involved. He was the Secretary of Energy for Clinton. This is Bill Richardson, who's made a number of pro-UFO statements, and then sort of got in trouble with the Clintons when he sort of backed Obama, so he sort of got pushed to the sidelines. But anyway, next slide. Here's Symington. I've been through that story already. Next slide. Here's an interesting story. Rockefeller, what he would do is he went, of course they don't want to deal with UFOs. It's the last thing you want to do if you're sort of trying to run for political office. And so what they did was they sort of tried to slough him off, and then Rockefeller says, you know, if I don't get cooperation here, I'm going to run an ad in every major newspaper in the United States, and I'm going to ask for disclosure by Bill Clinton. And they go, okay, hang on. And that's why they ran the Roswell report. The GAO was running a Roswell report, but the White House green-lighted the other one. The Air Force doesn't just decide to redo Roswell. They were under pressure to redo Roswell, and that was because they said to him, oh, hang on, don't put the ad in the newspaper. No, it's okay. What do you want me to do? And he said, well, we want you to declassify. And the science advisor said to Rockefeller, he said, well, I mean, if you say this thing is as big as it is and as deep as it is and all this kind of stuff, we can't do it all. He said, just give us one case, we'll declassify the one case, then we'll go after all the rest of the stuff you say is covered up. So Rockefeller says, yeah, okay, we'll do Roswell. And that's why they did the Roswell report. That's why the Air Force went back. They didn't do it on their own. It was because the President and the White House had said, we want you to reinvestigate Roswell because Rockefeller was pressuring them. Okay, next. So this is what happens. In 1995, they go through the report. The report comes back, they say it's mogul balloon, and then Rockefeller's had enough, and he decides he's going to the president. So they get the president is 1996, he's running for re-election, and it's determined by Dick Morris, his advisor for the 1996 election, that the swing voters, and that's all they care about in elections is swing voters. If you're in a state like Texas or North Dakota, they could care less about you. If you're a swing voter, they're interested in you. So the swing voters in the 1996 election, Dick Morris determined that they were techie people who like to be outside, like to camp, like to fish. That's why Bill Clinton ended up at the Rockefeller Ranch in Wyoming in August of 1995. He could care less. He wanted to be at Hampton golfing with his rich buddies. But he ended up, and Dick Morris talks about this, he was furious being in Wyoming. He's at the Rockefeller Ranch, and Rockefeller says, okay, now is the time. Stephen Greer provides a bunch of documents, and it's called the best available evidence, and Rockefeller sits down with the president and with Hillary Clinton, and he actually briefs them. Again, it's not a briefing, because it's a private citizen, it means nothing. So I file FOIAs, and I get a bunch of pictures from Hillary Clinton. This is one of the pictures we had. She's walking with Laurance Rockefeller, coming to the ranch, and we noticed two things. One is the book. So we put out a challenge on the internet. What's the book? What book? It has appeared that Rockefeller had given her a book. So it was the book, and then the crosses. Let's go to the next one. I think it shows the crosses. There's the crosses, these bizarre crosses that nobody ever really explained. Hillary's wearing these weird crosses, and we put it around the world, and a lot of people took guesses and tried to compare it to other crosses. She's got these bizarre crosses on. And if you go to my website, you'll see better, clearer pictures of it. And the book. Go to the next one. The book we actually discovered. Somebody actually took all the books for 2 years and actually compared the back cover, and they were looking for this eye. And they actually found the book. Next slide. And it was a book. It was called Are We Alone? The Philosophical Implications of the Discovery of Extraterrestrial Life. That is the book that Rockefeller gave Hillary Clinton. So he gives them the briefing, and according to what Whitley Strieber heard from Laurance Rockefeller, the Clintons sat there, didn't say anything, and when it was all over, they didn't say anything. And the next morning, Hillary came up and said to Rockefeller, okay, we've listened to you. Don't ever bring up the subject again. And it all comes down to political. Hillary was intending to run for president. She's going to run for president again, and this is not something you want on your plate. She actually got caught with this channeling of Eleanor Roosevelt, and this kind of stuff you really don't want on your plate. So she basically told Rockefeller, we've listened to you, drop it.